Dialectical behavior therapy was created in the 1980s by Marsha Linehan in Seattle, Washington.
Today, DBT is taught all over the world.
We're two therapists who believe everyone can benefit from DBT skills.
I'm Kate.
I'm Michelle.
And this is DBT and Me. Hello, everyone. Kate here without Michelle. Much to everyone's sadness, she continues to be on maternity leave with the wee baby, who I realized I have not posted the pictures of the 2 weeks that I spent there, and I need to post those fucking pictures because they're so precious. I'm so excited about it. But we are here with Meg. Say hi, Meg.
Hey, everyone.
You guys are like, who the fuck is Meg? So we'll get to that in just a sec. I'll let Meg tell you more about who she is, but overarchingly, just sort of let you guys know what we're doing here and why we're here today. Meg is the new virtual assistant for the podcast, right? Woo-hoo. We have actually grown in this wonderful way. We're very excited. And so we wanted you guys to know who Meg is, why we went ahead and hired her, what she's doing for the podcast, and kind of her DBT story, since you guys have heard ad nauseum about Michelle and mine's DBT stories. We figured it's time to let you know the third member of the DBT and Me family now. So yeah, Meg, who the heck are you?
That's a good question. I think I'm still trying to figure that out.
Oh, fair. Me too. For myself.
I'm so excited to be part of the DBT and Me family, though. Love being here. I live in Salt Lake City. I have 4 dogs. And my mental health has improved with each acquired fur child. So really love them. I've been a neuroscience geek for a really long time and also a devout DBT skills coach. So I do that outside of the digital assisting.
Yes.
And I'm also starting a master's program in August for social work. So hopefully becoming a real therapist at some point.
Very exciting. I love the systems perspective that social work brings to the picture that traditional, like my degree in just mental health counseling doesn't necessarily bring in this whole like societal systems perspective of things. I think that's a really useful bent to bring into the picture. Well, let's start at the beginning, quote unquote. But what first brought you to DBT, Meg? What landed you in the DBT world?
Well, back in the day when I was a struggling young 20-something, I'd done therapy for a long time, but was really not finding it effective. I loved the advice therapists would give me, but found that I didn't know how to actually apply it. I didn't know how to break it down to learn how to do the things they were telling me to do. Talk therapy wasn't very effective for me, but I had a friend mention something about a program she had heard about called DBT, and I started looking into it. And being a neuroscience geek, I really wanted to find something that was evidence-based. And so after doing a bunch of research, I found this program, set up an appointment, and after the 3-month-long waiting list, I was accepted into a program.
Good Lord.
Yeah. And then I was diagnosed with all sorts of stuff, PTSD, depression, anxiety, social anxiety. And when I started the program, I realized, oh, this is very different. This is going to be such a different experience, and it took a lot of patience, persistence, and commitment, but it completely changed my life. I was able to function after doing my program and start having actual healthy relationships. And by the end of my program, I no longer was diagnosed with PTSD, depression, anxiety, or social anxiety. So I kind of got cured by it. So
nice.
Yeah, it was great.
That is fantastic. Was it like a gold star program? Was it the whole 9 yards? Nice.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I often say that the program I went through at 19, I think, saved my life. I think getting in early is so nice. Like, I understand why many people don't get to it early, like no shade thrown for lack of access or knowledge or any other myriad things. But I'm really grateful that I got to go through it at the tender age of 19.
Right, when your brain is just malleable and you're...
Exactly. Yeah. Still all squishy-brained.
Totally. And I was 24, so it was just like right under the wire of my brain being done, so...
Right? I know, I was just writing a letter to my nephews who just turned 17 and 18 and being like, hey, just in case you wondered, you're not the adult that society is telling you are yet, and that's okay. Like, your brain's not done cooking yet. Like, don't hold yourself to knowing what you're going to do for the rest of your life and being a totally functional adult, because you're not physically yet.
That's a good reminder. I think people
Right.
get really hard on themselves, at younger and younger ages. I'm constantly reminding my niece, because she's an extremely good student, pushes herself super hard, but I'm just like, you're only 16 once. You should try and
Yes.
just be.
Yeah, right. You
have
don't want to
fun.
be the adult you think you want to be. It's terrible.
Yes, and you're stuck
Hang on
with
for
it.
as long as you can where everyone else is responsible for
Yes.
you.
No kidding.
Well, hey, what is like your favorite thing then about DBT, and what would you change about it if you could? That's something we like to ask all of the guests we come on, because I love hearing the answers about, I don't know, I just like making people be a little critical of DBT, because though I love it up one side and down the other, I like acknowledging its humanity, considering it was made by a person.
Very. So my background from college, I studied some philosophy, and I was really into that for a long time. So I really like the dialectic and holding to opposing viewpoints, really appreciate just nuance in thinking, and I love that DBT encourages that. And I also find that noting judgmental thoughts and the way that we talk to ourselves, that's probably the thing that actually helped me heal the most. It's just kind of learning how to be gentle with myself. It's crazy that that seems to be the most important aspect. As far as criticism goes, I think my main criticism is that it's so expensive. And I know it kind of has to be in Gold Star programs because you're requiring so much time from therapists. But I think just making it more accessible and broadly available and having it be something people know about earlier. So yeah, just kind of the marketing side of DBT, I guess. So.
That's fair. I don't know if I got the chance to share this with you yet, Megan. I know I didn't share it on the podcast at all yet, but I got the itty bitty teeny tiniest little dose of getting to do the thing that I have been saying for many, many years should be done, which is I got to go do a tiny little lecture on DBT at a middle school. Last Wednesday.
It's a miracle.
Yeah. I admit I was more excited on the lead up to it than I was perhaps at 7 a.m. because I had to be at the middle school a couple towns over at 7 a.m. That felt early, but I got to do 3 little 35-minute lectures, like the same lecture, but 3 times to 3 different groups of students on like little mini dose of DBT. And I was like, I have been saying this for years that we should be teaching DBT to middle schoolers.
Especially that age, because that's when you're going through puberty and you have all of these intense emotions and yeah.
Right? And most of our parents weren't taught this themselves, right? So of course they're not arming us with how to be emotionally regulated and just tolerate distresses and all those happy things.
I think that's been the funniest thing about doing a DBT program is that afterwards you try and convert everyone to it. And so I've been teaching my parents and siblings. I'm sure everyone's sick of me talking about it, but
amusingly, considering how much of a person I am for DBT, I don't use it as much in my individual work with clients. Like I like DBT as a skills class and doing it in that sort of format better than just the one-on-one work. But you can tell how much I've been steeped in DBT over the years with the book and the podcast and the groups and everything else, because slowly but surely more things are just getting referred to as DBT skills in my individual work with clients too. And I'm like, and there's a DBT skill you could use for this too, because of course there is. Like, I can't not think about DBT skills anymore. They're just part of the answer to everything now. Even more so when there was just a client of it, but now that I've been dispensing it for so many years, it's just like there. It's on my bones.
it's the lens that you go through.
Yeah, exactly. You went through it long enough ago that maybe when you went through it first, did it still say please master instead of build mastery?
Oh my gosh.
No, you're younger than I am.
think
Okay.
so.
When I went through it at 19, it was still please master, which
Please
I had to go and
master?
Google that shit to make sure I wasn't making it up and misremembering it. But no, instead of build mastery and please, it was please master. I shit you not.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. How'd that make it past editing, Marcia?
Yes.
I'm like, little secretly kinky Marcia in there. I don't know what's happening.
Seriously.
Anyway, that was my biggest criticism as a teenager. I was like, that seems inappropriate, guys. I don't know what's happening here. So that never ceases to crack me up. I just keep hoping that somehow she'll fix all the acronyms. I don't know how, but one day.
There's so many.
There's so many and they're so, bless their heart, bad. Like, why does it not start with the right letters? Anyway, but that's me. How did you first find the podcast?
Actually, my boyfriend found it. I had been talking about DBT, I reference it a lot in context to my life, and he was just curious about it and started being somebody that learns best by listening. He went and looked for resources on it. And so he found you guys and then immediately showed me. And then we both started listening to you. And yeah, we've loved it. It's been a couple years.
Thanks for sticking. I just feel like anybody I talk to that manages to stick with the podcast, I just have to thank you guys for staying with us through the beginning of the pandemic, because the sound quality there for a few was real trash, like real trash. So thanks for sticking it out.
Well, the content is good, so it doesn't,
Thank you.
The delivery doesn't matter so much if the content's good.
I appreciate it. Because as I recall correctly, you went through DBT many years ago, right? And then in the interim, you created this awesome thing that I'm about to ask you about next. And it was actually after creating that you found the podcast, right? Like order of operations. The podcast is the most recent.
Yes.
On your DBT horizon.
Correct.
Tell me about this awesome thing, DBT with Friends, you helped create.
So DBT with Friends is a product of the early COVID days when everyone was falling apart emotionally.
Yeah. Yep.
I had two of my close friends go through some personal crises. And they got to a point where they were desperate enough to listen to anything I told them to do. So I was like, okay, you guys are at a really hard spot, and I think a DBT program would be amazing for you. And I gave them the number of the place that I went, and they did the program. It took about a year. And when they came out of it, it was just completely life-changing through that year, seeing them grow and change. It was amazing. And then when they came out of it, they were worried about losing what they learned. So we thought of just starting a skills group, just a little group. We were going to invite like maybe one or two other people to just practice the skills together. And it was during COVID, so we were doing it on Zoom.
Virtually.
Yeah. So we had just a couple people. And then, gosh, it happened so quickly. It became more and more, like the group grew. And then we started meeting in person once the virus was a little less threatening. So we started meeting in person in groups. And then that group got too big after about a year. And we decided to start a second group and then a third group. So it's continued to grow, and we've tried to create a workbook just to make it more peer-to-peer oriented. The whole goal was just, let's really practice these skills, see what happens when you teach your community about the skills. So you guys are building a language together.
Yeah, shared language.
Yeah, and so it's been really neat to see that evolve and change. And
what is like, so DBT with Friends, how big is it now? Like, what's running, what's up, and like what does it look like at its current moment in evolution?
Currently we actually have downsized back to one really solid group that, we're bringing new people into, and then we have our old original group that meets.
Nice.
I had to pause doing my own group as I'm in school full time, but I need to get that started up again. I think right now we're in a transition phase because I'm going back to school and my time is less available, but I am going to school in order to help grow this at some point, because I think peer-to-peer skills groups are such a good way to build community and help people who can't afford therapy maybe, or have it be like a thing in the interim between therapy or something to add to therapy. We really want it to be accessible to anyone who wants to join, so we don't have an income or anything with it. So that's been challenging because it ends up taking all your time, and then it's hard. But
absolutely. Getting things off the ground is wildly difficult,
right?
And a lot of the time.
I am hoping like my education will help me get the skills I need in order to help launch that better too. So
that makes sense. How long is your program? Is it a 3-year program, 2-year program?
It's 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
I know they vary a lot, so close. It's gonna fly by. And if you're anything like me, you'll look back at your social media posts during the years that you're in school and be like, wow, it was boring to be my friend. All I did was post about schoolwork. Seriously, it's hilarious. You look through my Facebook posts at that time, and it is almost exclusively, I have this much settling in to do homework reading, got a movie on, and time to watch my write paper, 3 papers to write this week, 5 pages into a paper. That was it. It was just 3 years solid of reporting on my homework, apparently, because I thought everyone who knew me apparently also needed to be suffering through however much homework I was having to do for, I don't know what I was doing, but it's very funny to look back and be like, wow, I was boring.
It's like having a journal from junior high where all you're talking about is your current crush.
Yep. And you're just like, wow, looking back at this is embarrassing, but I guess it happened, so there we are. But yeah, it was nothing but homework for like 3 years. And I was like, oh, a human again.
I feel like I am kind of putting my life on hold a bit, just like, and it's fine. I'm like so happy to do it for the skill set. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, ooh, can't plan that trip. Oh, can't make that purchase. It's just all about surviving the next
Pause.
2 years. Yep.
Yeah, right. Like, hi, friends. I will be more of a friend again in 2 years. Please don't leave. I'll see you for about 2 weeks out of every quarter when I have the break between quarters.
To be continued. Our
Yeah,
friendship.
exactly. Well, let's see. A couple of things that I wanted to make sure we mention, or I mentioned that I was talking about with Meg before we started. And Michelle, when you listen to this, feel free, I suppose, to hop in the comments and say if I got this wrong. But I thought she would like my sharing that us deciding to go ahead and hire Meg was a big deal for us. Not just because it's like, yay, thank you all for helping make the podcast successful enough that we can do this and things like that, but also that it was a big wise mind decision on Michelle's part. Like, that woman is highly type A, organized, get her done kind of human being, and I just think we all owe her some accolades for realizing I'm about to have a second baby. Like, maybe I don't need to be shouldering all of this. Maybe I can honor who I am on both sides of this idea, and I can show up in the ways I can show up and give to someone else in the places that would bury me right now. I mean, at similar time, like when Michelle went on maternity leave for her first kiddo, I didn't have the clinic up and running yet, and so I had more space and time to be able to pick up whatever Michelle had been doing. But between I don't have more time and she doesn't have more time, I think it was time for both of us to just really go, okay, we can either back off from this thing that we really love, or we can lean in, right, in a way that makes it more sustainable over the long haul. And so that's where we did. And we had met Meg because she and a few of the other people from that original DBT with Friends group had reached out to us to be like, I don't know, hi, we're a thing, you're a thing, let's talk, which was a really fun meeting, actually. I'm super inspired by what you guys want to do, the hyper localness of it, right? Like the trying to make it be something where people are interconnected, where it builds community, where, like you said, there's a shared language that people can talk about things together now. I have a lot of belief behind your guys' vision.
Yeah.
So it was really great to be reached out to and included in that.
Well, we really appreciate you being so receptive. That was really encouraging. And I think our next goal with DBT with Friends is to create a training booklet on how to do peer-to-peer skills groups to train people if they feel the desire to start their own group.
Yeah. This
is how you do it. And here's the materials. And here's some advice on what to do and what not to do, because we're learning all of these things the hard way.
Yep. Trial by fire. Learn it right. You're like, well, that didn't work very well. I understand. I'm doing virtual groups now, but we've done in-person groups for so long that I feel like I'm still getting the hang of tweaking things so that they still work as well, or start to work, I guess, as well in a virtual environment as they did work when I was doing everything in person, and figuring out how to make that altered so that it works in the new environment. So yeah, a lot of learning.
So much learning. I'm also doing coaching for a company called TheraHive. They do an online DBT skills educational thing. So it's not technically therapy, but it functions kind of like a therapy program. That's a great resource for people who can't afford a full-blown program.
TheraHive. Nice. When we put the show notes in, we should put that in the show notes. And also DBT with Friends, right? Obviously, please put the link in there for folks to see. I know you guys have posted plenty in the Facebook group too, but for the folks who maybe don't do the Facebook group at all, I do want people to know that you guys exist and how to find you and get the booklet and everything else to try and help become a part of it and support it.
Thank you.
Just so you guys kind of know what Meg is doing behind the curtain, Meg is responding to a lot of comments in the Facebook group, so that'll be a thing. You're responding to posts and people's comments. Meg is the one doing the welcoming posts, letting people know when people have joined. So basically all of the immediate Facebook concerns have passed on to Meg. We're excited because I know she's turning her attentions towards Instagram soon, so I'm excited to see what's going to come more of that. Meg will be answering some emails. If you're sending in stuff to the email that's, I don't know, shall we say, stuff you might expect to hear on a Q&A. That'll be me getting to it. But for folks who are making Etsy purchases or have questions about the coffee hours or other things like that, Meg is handling sort of the more businessy email end of things, editing and putting up the podcasts, which is amazing. I don't know, it's sort of funny. I don't know why it never amused me that Michelle had to listen to herself and edit herself, but for some reason I am entertained by the fact that you'll be listening to and editing yourself today. I don't know why that's funny to me.
I was nervous initially because I've never done anything like this myself, but I was like, oh, well, I get to edit it, so it'll be fine.
You're like, I just cut out anything I don't want.
Yes, exactly.
Let's see, what am I missing out? So you're handling stuff with Etsy, you're handling stuff with emails that aren't like just more intimate questions, you're handling stuff with Facebook. Am I missing a thing? editing with the podcast? I mean, eventually, we got some stuff on the horizon. We're hoping to get a website up and running, and we know Megan might help with that, which would be great because neither Michelle nor I are adept at designing.
I'm a retired product UX person, so I have some skills that can be really helpful for growing this. So
Exactly.
digitally.
Yeah. So I think we're just both really excited to have someone else who's helping to support the vision of DBT and me and who's just as equally enthusiastic about DBT. I think we could not have imagined trying to hire someone for this position that was, I don't know, just someone with the virtual skills and not someone with both the DBT knowledge and passion. We were just so stoked to find someone that had both your literal skills and also your DBT skills and passion, who was willing to come and do this for us, because that's pretty awesome.
Well, thank you. I love what you guys are doing, and I love your following. It's really fun
We
to
do have
interact.
pretty cool people.
Yeah. It's awesome. I think your listeners are great, and yeah, I'm just excited to be here and be involved.
Awesome. Well, I don't have anything else. Do you have any last minute things you want to say to folks other than hello? I don't know.
I don't know. Just share things that you like about the podcast, or share the podcast with your friends and family, and you really can teach the people around you these skills, and it will help with everything.
It's true, right? Share amongst family. I think I actually got a few points with the middle schoolers because I was like, heck, you guys aren't the only ones with these problems. Go home and teach these skills to your parents. They need them too.
Desperately.
Kids aren't used to adults criticizing other adults to them. So I thought
Yeah.
that might make a little bit of a positive impact. But no, right, share it and share it alike. Whether it be books or the podcast or workbooks like DBT with Friends has or things like that. And we'll definitely keep growing and get around to it. So thanks so much, everybody, and welcome to Meg.
Thank you.
To learn more about us and the DBT skills we're teaching each week, join our Facebook group. Simply log in to your Facebook profile and search for DBT and Me podcast.